I really do appreciate you doing this. When you were talking at our summer nights,
Yeah.
it seemed like you had a really good story, and I wanted to share that. Not to mention, just I want people to get to know you and get to know your face and get to know what you're all about and the great things that you're doing with the youth over there in Hispanic ministry. So, Wilderies, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we start off and just kind of go backwards and talk about you and how did you get to Brandon and how did you get to New Hope? Let's just go back.
Okay, that's a story right there.
Okay.
I moved here to the States when I was 18 and I moved by myself. I was renting a room in a family member's house, but I was in Orlando by myself and my brother lives here in Tampa. But at the time, that's the place where I could stay. And I decided to move because I had a difficult childhood. So I wanted to improve my quality of life. I wanted to have a future, to be able to help my mom. So I moved, and I was born and raised in church. But since I was a teenager, I stopped going to church. I think that the fact that because of how hard my childhood was, that's one of the things that I decided to walk away from God and like, no, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to do this. However, my mom never stopped going to church. Mm-hmm. So even though I didn't want to serve God, she will always go to church. She will always pray, always read her Bible. So I had that example at home. I moved when I was 18 and it was pretty difficult because, you know, everybody says, oh, when I'm 18, I'm gonna live by my own. And you know that everybody's waiting for that time to happen. But when it happens, when it hits, it's not easy at all.
Different story altogether.
No, yes. And the reality is that the whole change actually got me depressed and it was a lot. I had responsibilities now. And at the moment I couldn't get a job. I wasn't feeling comfortable in my English. So I was in a point in which I was depressed and I wanted to go back to Puerto Rico. And at that time that I was in my mind thinking that I'm going back to Puerto Rico, God spoke to my mom through someone that didn't know her. And that person told her, you need to move to Florida, get a ticket and go to Florida. So she did, like within a week, she moved. And I actually didn't have anything to offer to her because I was kind of struggling, but she was here. And I was like, okay, if God told her to come, now I can leave, because if I leave, she's going to go with me. And then I'm going to be against what God told her. Like, I'm going to put her in a situation that she's not going to do what God told her to do. Mm-hmm. So I decided to stay. And I moved here to Tampa. I moved to Tampa with my brother, and my brother was going to church. And the men in my family, they have a very strong character. And my brother said, if you are living in my house, you have to go to church. It wasn't optional. So I remember the first time that I went, it was a Sunday. The church was full, but he said that I had to go. And I haven't been in church for years. Mm-hmm. And I sat down in the back and I stayed there the whole service. And then it was the beginning of the week and I needed to go back to church because it was the rule in his household. So I couldn't, you know, try to make a deal with him. And he started even going to, he's 7 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And because he wanted me to go to church, he would go to the youth activities. So with all the people that were way younger than him, he will go just so I would go there. And so I started participating, and little did I know that I was going to have my own experience with God, because I think that when you grow up in church and it's part of being, and you know, a kid is part of the ignorance and everything, that it's not like you know God, you know that your parents serve God and you know the God that they serve, but it's not like you haven't had like that encounter with him. Mm-hmm. And it was through all the difficulties since I moved here and having to go to church with my brother that I ended up getting to know God. And so little did I know, then after that I was a youth leader for for 3 years. And we're talking about someone that actually didn't want to go to church at all. So God started, providing for me. I was able to get an amazing job here in Tampa because it was here. I guess God always has a plan. So I guess the first phase of it was to get me to Florida. It was difficult in Orlando, but then I go here to Tampa and he starts providing. So I got a job with the state. I was able to buy my car with the bank, with Suncoast. And I was able to get my own place. My mom got ill, but around that time that I was able to get my place. So I started taking care of my mom. From there, I got an even better job. And now that I got this other job that is even better, but I've been seeing God since that point on. I've been seeing God, working in my life. And here's where I am right now. That's
awesome. And it took, we all go through that. I grew up the son of a minister, and I was in the same boat as you. I was growing up in the church, went to church because I kind of had to and stuff like that. But it took my own experience to develop my own personal faith. And I think that's what it takes a lot of times.
Yes, definitely.
You mentioned that you struggled a little bit in childhood, and what are some of the things and the strengths that you've gotten out of the struggles in your life?
Well, I am very independent. And like I said, it was a difficult childhood. My dad left when I was 3 years old. So I know what is to have a need, maybe for food or for clothes, for shoes, and not having the means to get it. So I developed this character that I'm very independent, that I know that I work hard, that whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. And when I set up a goal, I'm going to go behind it, because I feel like if I didn't have at those years, or when I was younger, I didn't have those things that I needed. It created this mentality that, okay, if nobody's going to provide it for me, then I'm going to go and I'm going to get it. And I'm going to do whatever it takes for me to be able to have the things that I need. And to help, of course, also, like, for example, my mom, to provide to others. If I don't have that immediate assistance, then I'm going to do whatever it takes on me for me to be able to help myself and to help others.
Mm. And you did something really phenomenal in the last month, which is graduate, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I got my AA in visual arts. It's like the first part of the whole plan that I have, but I don't even like to call it a plan, because I have learned that you do your plans, but God has something different. So I know, I see myself, I know what is the career that I want to pursue, but I know that at the end of the day, he will call the shots. But I graduated for an AA in visual arts. I would like to be a history of art teacher or professor.
Wow.
But it's been hard. And I had like the 4-year plan that everybody gets when they get out of high school, and you want to graduate in 4 years and you're going to have your life set up, but it didn't happen. And like I said, I had to start working and start providing for my mom and for myself. So I got it now, and I'm 27. It didn't happen as I planned, but I did it. And I'm planning on moving on to the next step, so I can continue with the plan as God wants me to, not as I want to. God knows what is it actually going to end up happening.
I think sometimes God just looks down on us when we're making all these plans, and he's just like, oh, yeah, yes. I got other plans for you.
Definitely. Studying arts, it's very difficult. I was doing visual arts, and it requires you to take classes during the day, like for example, painting, drawing, and I have to work a 9 to 5 job. So it was getting very difficult for me to be able to have my classes completed. And I remember this day I was ill and I didn't go to work, and I was having a meltdown. in my living room talking to my mom. Why is that the only thing that I like? It's arts. What is that I couldn't get anything else that I'm good at? What is not math or science? I got stuck with the most difficult thing to study. And I told her, you know what, get ready. I'm going to go to the school and I'm going to change my major. And like, okay, she got ready. She went with me and I walked in to the office and I sat down, and I have never seen this person before, this advisor. And I just sat down there and I told her, well, you know what? I like kind of drawing, designing. Can I move maybe to architecture, maybe something better? I don't know. Maybe the courses are more accessible for me. And she looked at me and she said, if God give you a talent, who are you to start trying to change the plans? Who do you think you are? And I'm talking to you, holy girl. And I was like, wait, what? When she said that, I was like, wait, what is going on here? And she's like, stop saying. And this lady wasn't in my living room, but these were the words that were coming out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. She said, stop saying that you are not going to be able to live off your art, and stop saying that you are not going to be able to have a career of your talent. Because if God gave you a talent, he will provide the means for you to develop your talent. Mm-hmm. And she didn't change my major. She just got me crying. I woke out of that office just crying, and my mom was outside looking at me like, what happened? And I'm like, God, listen, the whole conversation that I had with you at the living room, and that lady started saying word by word about everything that I was telling you. She repeated it to me. And I guess I'm staying, and I'm going to finish my art degree. And I did. Wow. Glory to God.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What was something that you were going through in your studies that you discovered about yourself with art? Like, did you have, did you discover something that you were inspired with, like visually, or did you find some more creativeness that you didn't know you had in trying to create, or what? I mean, what was something that kind of you discovered?
Yeah, so I think that arts, whatever you do, you know, people look at artwork and they have their own interpretations. So the artist transmits or reflects themselves and what they are going through the art that they're making. And the art can tell you a lot of stuff about that person that created it. I had this teacher that used to draw and paint a lot of black rats. And I remember that I show it to my brother, and my brother flipped. He was like, no, something is wrong with this lady. Just black rats. What is that? There is a meaning behind that. Mm-hmm. And that got me thinking. And since that point on, I've been trying to paint and draw stuff that is positive. I have like my little Instagram with my art. And I really love flowers. So I try to paint and draw flowers and landscape stuff that will transmit peace. Because that's what I've been, I actually, when I started, I would just draw whatever it is that I need to draw, or make whatever it is that they're requiring me to do. But since I had that conversation that time, based on what I saw that teacher used to do, I decided that whatever I do, I want people to look at it and just see the beauty of things, and see the beauty that if it's a flower, look at what beautiful flower God created,
Mm-hmm. That's great. I love it. I'm still trying to appreciate so many facets of art, and one of the things I really do, I need to discover more is interpretation, because if I saw black rats, I don't know, I'd get creeped out. Yeah. But that's great. And through all this stuff, and through working full time, getting your degree, you have managed to get drawn into working with youth ministry. That is amazing. And what was it, your experience alone that made you want to kind of get involved, or did you get pulled in? What was the story there?
I pretty much got pulled in.
Did you?
Yeah. I really like to be behind the scenes. I don't like to, I mean, you asked me to do this, but it wasn't something that it was going to come out of me to say, hey, Chris, let's do an interview. No, I rather to say behind the scenes. But like we were saying before, God always has a plan, and it wasn't my plan. And before I was a youth leader, and I thought that was it for me. And I started working with the kids ministry, being a Sunday teacher. And then from there, I went back to the youth, and it wasn't planned. It wasn't something that I was counting on doing.
Well, I happen to believe that you're doing a great job, and you definitely have a connection there. And I think with your own personal experiences, the youth can relate to it big time. And I think that really does matter with your own personal experiences, and you being transparent with your experiences. It makes them open up, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Glory to God.
I want to kind of pick your brain, because in working with youth, okay, and in working with youth and in ministry, and seeing our culture the way it is, do you feel optimistic for this generation that we're working with, or do you feel kind of concerned?
I mean, God has a plan for everyone, and I understand that the times that we're living in, of course, it's a lot going on, but I think that with the right tools, I think with the right motivations, and letting the youth know that, you know, you're valuable, you have stuff to bring to the table, I count on you, I believe in you. I think those are the right things to, or the right mindset to have when you're going to work with the youth, that you can see that, yes, if I use the right tools, if I have the right attitude with working with them, this is not the end. It doesn't matter whatever is going on out there. No, God has a purpose, and God will get the best out of each of us. Definitely.
Do you think that we lack some strength in church to grab onto the youth right now? Because youth are it's so much easier to check out and go do social media and video games and go to the mall and whatever culture wants us to do. Do we lack the strength to bring them in? Do we need to do something else?
I mean, I think when you are in these teen years, you know, I was there just the other day. I just got off my teen years like yesterday.
Me too.
Yeah, but you look around and you see what others are doing, and you want to copy what others are doing. And it happens, like, for example, the way that they dress. If the friends are dressing one way, then they're going to dress the same way. Yep. And I think what the church should do, and something that should be implemented, is to have the youth working at church, doing more stuff. You know, now that we are living in this world that everything is about technology, having the youth like we have been doing, we have our youth taking the pictures at church on Sundays. So, you know, they see that, oh, look at, for example, Juan is one of our youth. He sometimes takes pictures. So maybe I'm looking at Juan, oh, look at him, he's taking pictures. I want to do that. And I think that using that kind of strategy, you know, like involving them in stuff that they like, working with the cameras, or maybe learning about sound, or getting involved with music. You can, if you start with one of them, all the others are going to start watching, all the others are going to start wanting to also do what they're doing, to also, you know, learn, and little you know that they will keep dragging more people in, because it's just, you know, at that age, you want to follow, and you want to be in the group that is in, and or with the cool kids. So yeah, I think that the church, that's something that the church should work more on, having the youth involved and doing the stuff that they're interested in. You know, of course, maybe some of them will want to be teachers, but I try to do this with myself. I teach on Sundays, but not every Sunday, because I also want to be at the temple. I also want to be receiving. So if you want to be a teacher, yes, you can be a teacher. You can teach maybe once a month, and then you are also at church receiving, because it's very important also that you are receiving, because you cannot give what you don't have.
That's right.
So having them involved into different ministries, but without, taking that time away from serving and from receiving, I think is something that will help.
What do you think about, like, with so many parts of our culture, and what I think a lot of the youth pay attention to? There's such a need to almost disprove faith or dismantle faith. How can we move amongst all that and expressing the hope and love of Jesus Christ?
Yes.
Because sometimes it feels like we're just up against a wall.
Yes.
Yes.
So many influences that are negative, for definitely. Something that we have been trying to do, and it's like the event that we invited you, the night event that we had, trying to have events like that. Well, for those that don't know, Hispanic churches usually do these services that start late at night, and they might finish at midnight. They might finish a little bit after midnight. And it's a service. They have worship, they have a preaching, and people has that time to have that intimacy with God. And I think that using stuff like that, trying to bring the youth to church and have those type of events or those type of moments that bring you closer to God, try to develop that intimacy that, okay, you know what, now we're gonna pray. I know that you want maybe to talk to your friend, but no, now it's time to talk to God. You don't know how to talk to God? Okay, let's talk about how we pray. Let's talk about how to do it. So when it's time to pray, then we pray. And when we try to try to guide them into developing that relationship and that that closeness to God, or to his spirit, it doesn't matter whatever is going on out there. When you know who God is and when you have a relationship with him, it doesn't matter your age. Sooner rather than later, even if you're going through a difficult path, you're gonna remember that, you know what, maybe it's time for me to pray, or time to read the Bible.
That's great advice. And by the way, what do you call those nights again? The prayer visual nights?
The vigils, we call it vigils.
Just visuals. Okay.
Yeah. And
yeah, that was powerful. That was powerful.
It's something that the people like Hispanics usually do for everyone at church, but we have been trying to do it for the youth, so we don't have adults there, so they kind of feel like weird. My mom is here, or someone is looking at me. No, it's just you. Your friends are here, and we came here to worship, and we came here to get close to God.
And I really feel like I think the whole entire church needs to do more of that.
Yes.
And if we did it together, that's great too. And being there that night, obviously I don't speak Spanish that well, so the translation was not there for me, but listening to the testimonies and picking up what I could and just feeling the sense of emotion, everything that was going on through my head when a translator finally got up and started to translate what the pastor was saying about the testimonies was everything that was in my head. And I didn't understand a word. I just knew that the Holy Spirit was working that way, It was that powerful.
Yes.
So yeah, that's great. And I encourage our church to do more of it. Absolutely.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. You're very optimistic. You're very positive. You seem to just, when things come against you, you know how to present yourself and go against it. Has there ever been a time in your life where maybe the prayers were not being answered by God, or maybe you just were like you felt so isolated that you just were struggling so bad that you had to do something?
Yeah, definitely. I talk about it a little bit on the last summer night. 2 years ago, my oldest brother passed away. And I'm sorry if I get a little bit emotional,
No,
but um, God was preparing my family for this to happen. But of course, it's something that you as a human, you will never be ready. And when it happened, I felt completely lost. And I knew that it was God's plan. And I knew that God was behind everything. But I felt so lost, and I felt like I was alone, even though I wasn't. And it was a very difficult time. And I had to look for counseling and talk to someone, because my emotions as a human being were hurt. And I even felt like God was like, why me, or why do I have to go through this? However, I cannot explain it, but God started working with me. He started giving me peace, peace of mind that I cannot explain. Of course, I went through the stages of grief, and of course, I still think about him. And there are days that I might cry. There are days that I have good memories, and I just laugh at remembering stuff that happened. But even through that I'll say that it was one of my darkest times. Even through that, I saw God. And something that helped me a lot was that even though I was so devastated, I could look at my mom, and my mom has such a peace that I could not even understand. And I was thinking throughout the whole process, she lost a child. Is her the way that is hurting for her is totally different to the way that is hurting for me. And she had peace, and she will always tell me and remind me God decided to do what he decided to do, and if he did this, it was for a purpose. Yeah. And through the whole process, that it was a very difficult, very dark time, I ended up finding peace, and it was a peace that came from God. It came from his spirit, definitely.
And I don't think there's another peace like that. I mean, people describe a peace and sort of a tranquility, I guess. I don't know when they go through things like this, but there is a liberating peace from God. Like, it frees you from so many things. And I know the feeling you're talking about. It's an amazing feeling. So I'll wrap up now. I think your story is great, and I think you have persevered through so many things, and what you have to share and how you went through it is so important to other people, especially youth. And I really appreciate you sharing that with us today. And I hope that youth will maybe not only the youth that you know, but more youth out there will hear this and maybe even try and come to what we do and what you do and try and connect with you, to talk with you, because you're an inspiration.
Definitely, that's the goal. The goal is to bring more people to the feet of God, of Jesus, and that they find and have their own experience face to face with God. At the end of the day, it's not about us. I have always think that it's not about whoever is in the leadership position. Is not about you. It's about the people that are behind you, the people that are going to replace you, because you're not at that. It's not always going to be Chris Temple directing the youth. It's not going to be always Wilderies or David. No, it's the people that are behind us that we are training, that we are preparing to take over and do even greater things than what we are doing.
Right.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's for the kingdom of God.
Absolutely. You basically, you do this to set it up to carry on without
it. Yes.
The name of the game. Where do you see, and what do you see yourself doing in 10 years? Is that too far to reach out?
No, but what can I say? I know I'll be serving God. I know that I'll be at church. Hopefully by then I'm married, and hopefully by then I have finished with another stage in my education. Mm-hmm. But for sure, if the immediate answer will be that in 10 years, I know for sure that I will be serving God.
Wow.
Other than that, whatever happens in between, God has control of that.
That's amazing. Yeah. Usually people go with their own plans first.
Yeah, I guess it's easier to just say what you want to happen, but at the end of the day, God is the one that is in control.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you want to talk about anything that's coming up with your youth, with Blended, with whatever's going on?
Yes, so next Wednesday, we have the first podcast with our youth. I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to it because I know that maybe the youth are just the people that are going to be there. Maybe they are not as active. Maybe people haven't seen them talking, but they have their way of seeing things, and I'm looking forward to see what are their way of thinking, or in their relationship with God and how they see things, So we have that coming up this next Wednesday. That's on the 26th. And we also have the next summer night. I really hope that I can see more youth out there. Last time we have 26 people around that. So I hope that we can see more youth coming over. Because it's not just about, oh, I'm going to church again. No, we are having fun. We are relaxed. We are there to worship and to listen to what other youth have to say. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm going to listen to a 2-hour sermon. No, it's the people that that are going to talk from their experiences, that are going to talk to stuff that are related to you, and that is important to you. So I really hope that in this next summer night, which is June 4th, am I right with my dates? I think I am.
June 4th, yep.
June 4th at 7:30. At 7, sorry.
7, yeah.
7. At 7, we're gonna have the next summer night. So I'm looking forward to it. Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. I know this was kind of you stepping out of your comfort zone because you like to be behind the scenes, but hopefully this kind of like eased you in a little bit. And I really do appreciate you taking the time, Wilderies. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I will see you soon.
Yes, and thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Right. Bye.
Bye.